Hey guys, wow, I am overwhelmed by the amount of requests that I've gotten to talk about Stargirl in the past few months. So much so that I'm a little embarrassed that I waited this long to do it, but okay, if you want me to talk about Stargirl, here we go. So, Stargirl is a 2017 short film about a sheep herder who finds an alien that... What? Oh, not that Stargirl? There's... Oh, sorry, wrong Stargirl. Of course, what you guys really want me to talk about is the amazing coming-of-age story that's available on Disney Plus right now, based on the amazing book by... Oh, not that Stargirl? There's a third Stargirl. Oh, DC Stargirl. Oh my god. So the point of that sketch is DC Comics needs to trademark their shit. Anyway, alright, let's talk about Courtney Whitmore, the DC Comics Stargirl, the superhero, who was a part of one of the new generations, the current generation of superheroes in the world of comics. She is a pioneer. She's one of the first new teenage superheroes to be introduced, way before Spider-Gwen and Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel. We had the Star Spangled Kid, aka Stargirl. So it's crazy that a lot of people keep asking me, ERod, who is this character? Is this a Stargirl in DC Comics? What the hell? I don't know who this is. Can you tell me more about it? Here's the thing. Stargirl has been featured in almost every DC Comics TV show adaptation for the last 20 years. She was in Justice League Unlimited, she was in Smallville, she was in Batman the Brave and the Bold, she was in Justice League Action, and then on top of all that, she was in Legends of Tomorrow, which I think we can all agree is both a modern show and a very popular show that a lot of people have seen. So I think it's crazy that she's been in so much and somehow, some way, gone unnoticed by the general public. But I guess that's one of the character's main appeals. So, just for the sake of clarity, for the sake of those of you who don't know, let me give you a little background on this character and where she came from and what she's about. So in the late 90s, early 2000s, DC Comics started this initiative to reboot the Justice Society of America comic. And they were going to use the exact same formula that they used for the current Star Wars movies, where they would bring back all the classic characters, but they would have them work side by side with new, revamped, rebooted versions of old characters. And the two characters that have stood the test of time and survived that phase of the DC Comics universe were Michael Holt, better known as Mr. Terrific, who was portrayed in a very nerdy, very annoying way on Arrow, and of course, Stargirl, Courtney Whitmore. What was unique and cool and interesting about this new version of Starman, unlike other comics, her comic book, Stars and Stripe, wouldn't just see a female be a hero and a male be her sidekick, but she was a teenage girl being the hero and an adult being the sidekick. The reverse. So, from the get-go, right out of the gate, the comic book had a very, very different vibe than any other comics that were out there at the time. Like, for example, traditionally comic book characters take on the mantle of a superhero for honorable and heroic reasons. In the case of Courtney Whitmore, she literally stole Star Spangled Kid's costume and gravity belt to piss off her stepdad, because she didn't like her new stepdad and wanted to upset him by stealing the costume and equipment of the former hero that Pat Dugan used to be the sidekick to. So that right out of the gate was different, it was fresh, it was interesting, that she didn't have a higher calling. All she wanted to do was piss off her stepdad, but when the opportunity to be a hero was presented to her, she took it. But more interestingly, unlike the show where she, goes into becoming Stargirl right away, she wasn't supposed to be, she didn't initially become the new Starman. She was originally the new Star Spangled Kid, which is another Justice Society character. It was later in the comics that Starman passed his cosmic staff to her, and she took on his power, and she changed her name to Stargirl. Interestingly enough, she didn't change her costume at all, which is the most 90s superhero costume of all time. A crop top showing her belly with long sleeves and bicycle pants, and like clunky boots. That's her costume. And a mask, but that's her costume. And I think it's hilarious that that costume has endured and not changed by much. She basically wears the exact same thing in every incarnation, including this one. So that's pretty interesting. And of course, Pat Dugan being her sidekick, he becomes Stripe, which is a giant mech that travels along with Courtney on her adventures and helps her along. Anyway, so in this video, I'm specifically going to talk about my first impressions of the show based solely on the pilot episode. Please don't forget that my opinions and feelings on the show might change by the end of the season, okay? I cannot make that clear enough, alright? So, again, based on the pilot episode alone, these are my opinions. Here we go. Also, if you haven't seen the pilot of Stargirl, please stop the video here. There will most definitely be spoilers ahead. It's available right now on demand if you have cable. If you don't have cable, it's available for free on the CW app. However, if you want to see the full-length, uncut version of the episode without commercials, it's available on DC Universe streaming. That's right. The episodes were originally designed to be exclusive to the DC Universe streaming service, and they were actually made to be longer. But then suddenly the CW decided they wanted a piece of Stargirl, and to be able to fit into their 44-minute format where they can put in commercials into that 1 hour block of TV, they have to edit down the episodes. So yeah, if you're watching it on just regular television or the CW app, you're not seeing the full-length episode like the creators originally intended. Now, personally, I saw both. I saw the DC Universe version, I saw the CW version, and the stuff they cut out of the pilot, it really wasn't that crucial. Just an interaction of Courtney with one of the bullies in school, this douchebag girl with like skunk hair. Just quick interaction with her, and Brainwave, the villain, telekinetically moving a key from one side of the room to another and unlocking a secret room. And those are the only two things that I noticed. If they cut more, I didn't notice at all. So there you go. Again, based only on the pilot, I haven't seen any of the other episodes yet. Alright? Anywho, so interesting fact about this show and its comic book counterpart, the comic was created by Jeff Johns, the man responsible for making the Flash comic books cool again, and who was instrumental on the creation and the quality of the Flash TV series. If you love the first 3 seasons of The Flash, it's because Jeff Johns was heavily involved in them. Even after he left the show, what he had written, the arcs that he had written, continued on. But he left to apparently work on the DCEU movies, and a lot of people felt they improved after he became involved with them. A lot of people feel that the quality of Wonder Woman, Shazam, and Aquaman was heavily influenced by his involvement. I don't know how true that is, but I know that he really was influential with the Flash TV show, because he's even on the commentary of the episodes. And every time other people get interviewed about the show, they always go back to talk about Jeff Johns, the ideas that he contributed to the show, and how he helped shape the character of Barry Allen in the TV show. So not only did he create the character of Courtney Whitmore, not only did he create the original comic book, but he is the showrunner of Stargirl, the series. And for those of you who think, oh man, that's crazy, they got a friggin' comic book writer to be the showrunner of a TV show. Not that crazy. Ben Edlund, the creator of The Tick, has been directly involved with every single adaptation of The Tick, from the cartoon to the live action show on Fox. And then on top of that, he was the showrunner of the live action Tick on Amazon Prime. So there you go. Not that crazy. Anywho, the big confusing thing that I keep getting a lot of questions about is why this show is both on the CW and DC Universe streaming. Originally, it was only supposed to be on DC Universe. It was supposed to be one of their exclusive original shows. A lot of people are under the impression that it's because the DC Universe streaming service is not doing very well, and this is their way of salvaging the one and only original show that they've produced thus far that is not R-rated and can air on television by letting it air on the far more successful CW network. I haven't found any evidence to prove this theory at all, even though it doesn't sound that crazy. I did find an interview with Jeff Johns himself talking about it, where he was point blank asked this question, why this is the one and only show that's doing both all pretty much at the same time. And basically he said that because he's friends with Mark Pedoit and Richard Hoskins, the head of programming at the CW, that they were very much aware of the work that he was doing with Stargirl, and then by the time that they got to post-production of the first season of Stargirl, they approached him with the idea of having the show premiere on both formats at the same time. And because, again, they had planned for the episodes to be longer, the post-production process was extended so they could do 2 versions of each episode. And CW even picked up the tab for the extra time the editors had to spend in the editing room cutting down the episodes for the TV format. So yeah, there you go. That was his explanation, and that's all I have for now. I'll tell you one thing, even though I enjoy a lot of the R-rated adult content on DC Universe, this is the first original DC Universe show that feels like it embodies the spirit of DC Comics. I'll tell you that. Where all the other shows, even though I enjoy them and they're fine, it feels like they're just being edgy for the sake of being edgy and attracting casual viewers for with all the wrong tactics to do so. This one, it captures the wonder and the high concept sci-fi silliness of DC Comics, and I like that very much. With that said, the overall tone of the pilot is like one of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies fucked an original Disney Channel movie. It's like the Disney Channel saw one of the Marvel movies and said, hey, let's do that. I know we don't have a budget as big as that. I know we don't have resources as big as those. I know we don't have access to big movie stars like that, but let's just try to do that with what we have. So it has that strong original Disney Channel vibe, but with a grander, more epic comic book feel to it. Okay? If that turns you off, I apologize, but it's just the way it feels. I will say that when the pilot gets to those big comic book moments, they're worth the wait. In fact, you don't even have to wait that long, because this show has one of the most epic first scenes out of any show that I've ever seen. The first thing that you see right out of the gate is the Justice Society of America fighting the Injustice Society. Like this epic battle where they're destroying their mansion, Wildcats flying one way, Hourman's flying the other, explosions, impalements. I mean, it is intense as fuck, alright? Right out of the gate, we see Joel McHale playing Starman, which was amazing. So amazing that I'm so disappointed that he doesn't play the character more throughout the episode. I think they casted him too well. Man, what a perfect choice to play this pompous, egotistical superhero. Man, I hope that he comes back, maybe in a flashback, maybe a time travel episode where him and Courtney work side by side, but I really enjoyed him as Starman. But my point is that if you're not into the show, if you're not interested in the show within the first minute, you just don't have a pulse. Alright, let's move on to talk about the characters. Let's start with Luke Wilson, who plays Courtney's stepfather and trusty sidekick, Stripe, aka Pat Dugan. I love him. I'll tell you right now, he's my favorite character. And the perfect person to cast in this part. This guy is somebody who's been a lifelong sidekick. And in real life, Luke Wilson is the brother of the far more popular, better known Owen Wilson. This man has lived in the shadow of his brother for most of his career. So he knows exactly what it's like to be that guy, to be the guy who is talented and handsome and likable, but he's always compared to this other person, always lives in the shadow of this other person. And he plays this role with just this delightful honesty. My favorite moment of the pilot is when he's talking to Courtney on the porch and explaining his role as a sidekick, and Courtney keeps making fun of him, and he's like, no, but being a sidekick is an honor. And she shows him the picture of the Justice Society. He's like, if that's the case, then why aren't you in the picture with the rest of the Justice Society? And he very honestly says, who do you think took the picture? Like, I had an important role. Like, you wouldn't be holding that picture if it wasn't for me. I know you're, putting it down and diminishing it by saying that I'm just a sidekick, but I served an important role within that group, and it just makes me love the guy. I hear him say stuff like that where he takes his minimal contribution to the group and flat out demonstrates to you that it was valuable, even though it wasn't as valuable or as well received or as perceived as being as important as what Starman or Hourman or Wildcat brought to the table. But it was valuable and it was important, and he was a good sidekick. And oh man, you just want to come up to the guy, just give him a hug and tell him that you appreciate his service. Moving on to Courtney Whitmore, aka Stargirl, played by Brett Basinger. I am okay with her. I more like her than dislike her. She is really young and inexperienced, but she'll get there. She's surrounded by a lot of really talented actors like Luke Wilson and of course Amy Smart, who plays her mother, Barbara Whitmore. But I think what makes her good for this part, the element of her performance that I think works best, is that Breck has that natural enthusiasm and excitement and wonder in her face about discovering more about Stargirl, discovering more about the powers, the cosmic staff, what it can do. So that sense of wonder, it's hard to recreate in older actors. And not only is she young and she have it, but she plays it ridiculously well. And I think everything else will fall into place. But so far, she comes across as somebody who has infinite potential. One last character that I want to talk about is Yolanda Montes, who is one of the people that's sitting at the loser table at school when Courtney is having lunch. She's the one that specifically that douchebag Archie Andrews lookalike calls her a slut for no reason. In the show, and I know this because it has been spoiled by the trailer and the poster, she goes on to become the new Wildcat. Now, I don't know about the new Hourman and the new Dr. Midnight, who are going to be on the show later on, but I can tell you for a fact that the Yolanda Montes version of Wildcat is 100% canonical, and it actually premiered, her first appearance was on Crisis on Infinite Earths, which, via extreme coincidence, they just did the adaptation of just a few months ago on the CW. So, very appropriate for her to show up. Which leads me into the big segue, one of the biggest questions associated with the show. Is this part of the Arrowverse? Is it part of the DCW universe? And people keep asking this, in spite of the fact that we saw Stargirl Stripe and the New Justice Society of America do a cameo during the final chapter of the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover event. Right now, the answer is maybe? Like I said, this was not supposed to be a part of the CW superhero franchise. This was supposed to be an original DC Universe streaming show that was then upgraded to be on both formats at the same time. So they are going about it by the seat of their pants. They're trying to figure it out as they go along. Are there any possibilities that Stargirl could cross over with another one of the CW shows? Absolutely. It would be a little complex because Stargirl is filmed in Georgia, just like Black Lightning, and the rest of the CW shows are shot in Vancouver. So there would be some scheduling and traveling complications there. But again, they still got Black Lightning to appear on Crisis, so it's not impossible. As far as what the creator and the star of the show feel on the matter, Jeff Johns is very enthusiastic about the possibility of crossing over with The Flash. The Flash is his favorite member of the Justice League. It's the show that helped him transition from his other works into the world of television and having a prominent role in the world of television. So he has a soft spot for that show. And Brett Basinger said that she really wants to cross over with Supergirl and work with Melissa Benoist. So there you go. Again, if you missed it, the answer is maybe. So, how do I feel about this show? I'm going to tell you right now. Just after seeing the pilot, just after both versions of the pilot, both the long version on streaming and the edited down version on the CW on cable television, I have to say that I like it. I like it a lot. In fact, it's the first original DC Universe show that I liked right out of the gate. One of the things that Jeff Johns talks about on his interview is that he wanted the show to have that late 80s, early 90s Steven Spielberg vibe. It's like, you know, kids going on a cool adventure. There's even a scene where Courtney goes to the drive-in and the movie that they're showing is the Steven Spielberg produced Goonies. Because that's the kind of tone that they were going for in this. And I have to agree, I felt it. I feel like the relationship between Courtney and Pat is very much akin to Marty McFly and Doc Brown. And especially the fact that Courtney is like this perfect, pretty blonde princess that you should hate, but she's really hard to hate. Just like Marty McFly. He's this cool, perfect, radical 80s dude who can play an electric guitar and ride a skateboard and play video games and shoot a gun and ride a horse, and he does everything perfectly. You should hate this motherfucker, but you love him. You love this character. And somehow, some way, they managed to give Courtney Whitmore that same appeal that you should hate this person who potentially has it made. Potentially you should have every door open to her. But you feel for her. You relate to her being this kid in a new town and losing her dad and feeling out of place, looking for where she belongs in the world. So yeah, because of that, because of their ability to recreate that very specific Steven Spielberg tone, I instantly was drawn to this show. And then on top of that, all the cool comic book stuff. And all the possibilities where they could go with the show and do things that no other CW show has done thus far. With this very weird, very unique situation, this very unique premise in which this young teenage girl is the hero and this grown-up, far more experienced man is her sidekick. I think that in itself is what attracted the CW to the show, wanting to expand upon their portrayal of what a hero is and what a female superhero could be. So there you go. Those are my first impressions of DC's Stargirl, not to be confused with the 2017 film or the original Disney Plus movie based on the acclaimed book. Please feel free to voice your opinion in the comments section below. As per usual, I ask, please don't fight amongst yourself. If you want to hear me talk about the other CW superhero shows, well, guess what? I've been doing e-rants on the other shows for the past 2 weeks. Right now, on my Patreon page, you can watch my e-rants on Flash Season 6, Batwoman Season 1, and Supergirl Season 5. Now, if you want to check those out, but you're not a patron, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/ERod and pledge $1. $1, that's it. You're helping me continue to produce the Blockbuster Buster, and in return, you get bonus videos that you can't watch anywhere else. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. Thank you so much for caring about my silly opinion on these silly shows. And I'm going to end the video with the same line that I end all these videos because it's 100% true that I could not do what I do without you.